Welcome back to FlexPath DXP YouTube channel. Terry, what's on your mind?
Well, Jay, there's always a lot on my mind, of course, and there's a lot going on in the industry. But there's always the three things that we are always talking about in the industry, which is fraud, affordability, and AI. And they all commingle, interlock, they all work together every day. But it's always centered around those three things, right? Affordability, fraud, and AI. But you know what? Let's just talk about affordability. Let's take that one front and center right now, because again, that's a huge thing that's going on in the industry. I just saw that used car pricing is up. So, affordability is everybody's concern, whether you're selling new, used, or both. What I want to dial into right now on this particular conversation is group sites. So, franchise group sites have a very unique opportunity right now in the marketplace. And that is, as a group site, you have the ability to create an affordability marketplace by taking all of your inventory, new, used, all of the incentives, all of the rebates, all of the subsidization for financing and leasing, and create one shop by payment experience where a consumer can say, and this is what they're saying, and that is, I have a particular budget, monthly budget in mind, and I need to buy a sport utility, SUV. So, what can I get? Right? That's the question that consumers are asking. Because today, vehicles are virtually the same as far as quality goes. Okay. You've got different features and options, and even that's becoming standardized across the marketplace and industry. So, what you have to be able to do as a franchise group, again, put all of your inventory, new, used, incentives, rebates, lease, finance, in one shop by payment experience. So when that customer asks, what SUV can I buy for $650 a month with $2,500 down? You're able to give that answer. How do you do that now? Think about that. A customer walks into your dealership, and there's two, and I actually took a poll on this on LinkedIn and asked, there's two thoughts with dealer groups. One is, I don't care where you buy the vehicle from as long as you buy it from one of my stores. And that's usually at the ownership level, principal level. But then I see this every day. I was in a store last week talking to a dealership, and it's part of a group. There's a couple of Chevrolet stores within that group, and both Chevrolet stores compete against each other. Okay. And, as I went back and thought about that, okay, that's the model of that group. But the group still has a group website URL. Okay. So I actually am talking to the owner and saying, okay, you have a group. You're marketing, you're not so much marketing the group. I think most of the stores are marketing individually, but I said to them, I look, if you could market in addition to your individual stores doing whatever it is they're doing, but as an owner and the name on the door, you want your group to be marketed as, I don't care where you buy the car as long as you buy it from one of my stores. So you have that marketing thought, and then you might have all the stores marketing themselves. Okay. The value of that, though, is you're going to bring more into the funnel. If you're marketing your group under one shop by payment experience where that consumer can go in and find every single vehicle you offer for monthly budget, you're going to have a better chance of selling a vehicle versus that customer having to go store to store. Oh, and from the one store, on the way from one store to the other, there's a competitor in the middle there that, oh, I'll stop by here too. And whether that's in person or online, you're still opening that door to letting that shopper go somewhere else. Okay. So the idea and the key to this is all inventory. Again, I don't care what your mindset is as a dealer. Owner that says all my stores work together, or owner that says all my stores do what they want, but I still want that vehicle to be bought from one of my stores. Okay. So both of those mindsets come together now. And again, I was like banging my head against the wall thinking, gosh, this is crazy. And they were open to that. And we're having conversations about that right now, being able to market the group. And it's a well-known name, but each store, they're trying to be out there competing. That's fine. But again, marketing the group, one group, all your inventory, you're going to have a much better chance of selling a vehicle to somebody the more vehicles they can see in one place and one shopping experience based upon their budget.
I think what you said is really interesting because I have wondered. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm scrolling and I'm reading and I'm seeing they're talking, less people shopping, right? So I mean, I think your pool of potential consumers is shrinking, right? So you have to find a way to maximize the chance that they're going to buy from you.
Yeah, the dealership franchise groups are many marketplaces
Right.
within their own demographic, geographic area, right? And the larger ones obviously have an advantage. But again, you're out there. If you're marketing a shop by payment experience, you don't have to go to your website. You don't have to land on a car. We're talking social media marketing, QR code marketing. I've got dealerships that have their salespeople with their own personalized shop by payment QR codes. And when I talk to a store about this, it's almost like it's another amazing opportunity to generate first party leads using your own employees, including the salespeople. Because if I'm a salesperson and I'm out talking about, of course, salespeople love talking about cars. Employees of dealerships love talking about, hey, I work at X Motors, X whatever, XYZ Motors. We have this great shop by payment tool. Just scan this QR code. We authenticate your identity, making sure it's you and not somebody else. Consumers like that because you're protecting their identity. But then it's just enter your budget, money down, and what do you want to buy? When I do demos with our scanning the QR codes, I don't say a word because it's so intuitive. They can get right through it and see inventory like 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
And I think what you're hitting on, it's more like a mall or an outlet center where, let's say, a store doesn't get the customer. Well, another store within the group can.
Absolutely. And again, I've talked about the competitiveness against stores, but as an owner, you guys can compete fine because there's different incentives and pay plans and all of this stuff, right? But at the end of the day, the group has to benefit. You want the group, whoever, if you're a competing store, you still want the group to benefit. Okay, that's important for group survival, because it benefits the whole group. Yeah, maybe one of your competing Chevy stores within the group got the sale. Okay, but here's the other thing: when you look at the group, it kind of levels the playing field now because all of that inventory is in there. I'm dealing with educating dealers on, what's overall the best way. Look, if we're not out there generating um, the deals and they're going somewhere else, your group may either be sold, done, whatever, right? I don't know. I don't get into the weeds of that. I focus on the top level, which is let's get as much as we can. And the way to do that is through one shop by payment experience for the whole group.
Said survival. Is survival on the table for some businesses right now that need to find ways to step up their
So I
sales?
wasn't I wasn't going to talk about AI, but I'll throw this in since you mentioned that, because another aspect that we're dealing with AI. And when I talk about AI with when I talk about AI, it's not about a chat bot or using AI within the store. That's internal. So there's internal AI usage. And I have a graphic about this, right? There's internal AI usage. But there's also external AI usage, where you have consumers now asking AI questions about what should I buy, what can I afford, all of that. And that's another area that we're working with. And actually, and it's funny, I've had SEO experts in our industry say chat's not making any difference. You can't even tell if chat's recommending your dealership. Okay, well, that's interesting because I went through a lot of our lead reports from our dealers, and we're actually seeing a UTM tag ChatGPT. Okay, what does that tell you? It's happening. And yes, the volume is low right now, but you think it's going to stay low with the level of adoption of AI shopping? It's not going to stay low. So when we talked about survivability, okay, you've got the group shop by payment, right? Once the customer's in the door, that allows you to serve the right vehicle to them very quickly so that you have a better chance of converting a sale. Getting them in the door, that's another aspect. And again, we'll talk about that at another time, but that is important. There's internal and external AI discoverability. We call it discoverability. It does go hand in hand because the data layer that we're working with and underlying data layer feeds AI the answers to the questions that consumers are asking.
I want to talk about because you have said it, and I know you're right as far as people's misunderstanding about the use of AI search. Are the folks that don't understand the usage of AI search not using AI to search? Because I personally, I've seen a huge difference in the way I use AI just in the past 6 months.
Do you want to know my thought? There's
Yeah,
a lot of people aren't going to like this, but these SEO experts, and I'm not going to call any out,
of course.
but they know who they are. They're SEO experts. Maybe they seem to be, but they may not be AI discoverability experts. And if they're not, and they don't know and don't understand or can't prove that they're relevant, they're going to stick their head in the sand and say it's not happening. I believe there's going to be a huge shift in our industry with SEO agencies, SEO experts that are going to become irrelevant. Now, I'm hoping that doesn't happen because I believe there are quite a few, and I know most of them. I've been in this business for a long time. I've done SEO myself back in the 2000s. I know how to do or traditional SEO, and we've built schema for that. AI, similar, not the same, because it's not about necessarily content. And again, here we go. We're getting into the AI piece, but I'm gonna say it. It's not about content necessarily, because SEO is about content. If somebody's searching a term and your content is relative to that term, you might show up in traditional SEO. AI discoverability is not about necessarily content, it's about answering the question that a shopper is asking within AI. Totally different. And it's funny because those reports that I'm seeing, these are dealers that have our product, right? Because it's one thing to get the shopper to a site or a landing page, but what happens after that? If there's no conversion, doesn't really matter, does it? Which means you can't track it either. The only way we're tracking it is because that those conversions of leads, credit qualified leads that are coming in, have that ChatGPT UTM code and what page they were on when they enacted our get pre-qualified or shop by payment CTA. It's interesting. It's exciting because people say nobody's using first, and I get this might have been like a month ago. People are saying nobody's using chat to buy a car. Okay, well, I'm gonna show you some facts that will contradict that, and it's like I said, it's going to be very interesting over the next short period. I mean, we're not. People say, oh, 1 to 2 years. 1 to 2 years. We're talking 1 to 2 months.
It,
Replace year with month in anything you say about AI.
so I totally agree. I know from my personal experience, and I think we know we're all to some degree connected to social media, um, however we want to view social media. But just the act, I agree with you. It's we're in May 2026, and by the end of this year, everybody's gonna know that there are people right now saying, Gemini, help me find a utility SUV, new or used, $600 a month in my area. Somebody just did that.
Yeah, I mean, people search by budget, not by price. Nobody,
Totally.
no, price is like today irrelevant because everything's like high price. So if it's 50 grand, 60 grand, whatever, no, because it's about budget. Because if somebody thinks 50, 60 grand is where new cars are, well, then I better start looking at a used car for maybe 30 grand. Well, what our shop by payment experience does, you might think you fall into a $30,000 price, but with shop by payment, where we're showing lease payments, there's subsidized lease payments. Now all of a sudden, that 30,000 used car has a similar payment to a $50,000 new car. And the consumer would have bypassed new altogether and would have gone right to used because they don't think they can afford $50,000, when in fact a lease payment could get them there. And that shop by payment experience shows all of that together. If we don't ask, do you want used or new? No, we say budget, down payment, what do you want to buy? And we'll show the new and used together at the budget that they want to be at. And then obviously they can scroll up and down to see higher payments, lower payment vehicles, and dial it right in. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And and I'm telling groups, this is where you got to be. If you're not here and you're letting people hunt and peck, people do not shop by stores, they shop by payment, budget, and not storefronts.
And you also, by talking about shop by payment in such a way and talking about group site, marketplace, thinking with, you said, incentives, rebates, offers, lease, finance. We know that AI is great at recommending things. So if I said, hey, Gemini, find me an SUV in my area that's affordable, $600 payment or whatever, and maybe Gemini comes back and says, actually, I'm having a hard time finding that, but have you considered leasing, etc.?
What's interesting is the underlying data schema that we put together. If somebody asks that question, $600, it's going to return a vehicle at 600, lease loan, doesn't matter because we're quoting those already. So you don't even have to ask. It's going to just return. If it answers a question of an SUV at $600 a month, unless somebody says, I don't want to lease, which that's not happening today. Everybody leases their phones and everything else, right? So that's another topic about leasing that's not even a block anymore, right? So, but we're going to return back all inventory, specific inventory that matches that budget request.
I want to ask a follow up. I see the infographic, two powerful layers, Axis and Shop by Payment. Can you tell me more about the difference, what those layers mean?
Yeah, well, they're complementary. So Axis is our affordability, discoverability data layer that sits below the AI because we don't create AI. With Axis, what we do is we provide the answers that AI is asking. That's the affordability data structure that we've created. Okay, that's Axis. So when people are asking about payments, we're going to surface that. The shop by payment um, can also be, and that's more of a consumer facing piece where the consumer can interact with shop by payment. It can be an AI answer. It can be AI, agentic AI that's using our APIs to return back the answers to shop by payment for budget people looking for vehicles for a particular budget. When we do social media campaigns for shop by payment, it actually generates more credit qualified leads than your website because the consumers dialed in, right? They're thinking budget, what can I get? I'm in just with a phone number, right? So it's pretty astonishing the number of ways that the shop by payment covers the consumer facing access the underlying data to supply those answers to AI questions.
Okay, that makes sense. I appreciate that. So then I want to ask, not only, I'm assuming that in the way you're working, it's kind of AI agnostic, whether it's Claude, Gemini,
Doesn't matter.
GPT. Okay.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
And what you made me think of is within agentic AI, we recently saw an article where a car was bought where the consumer had an AI agent talking to a dealer AI agent and making a deal.
Mhm.
And for anybody who's thinking, AI is not really being used, that's stunning.
It is like yeah, it's mind-boggling, right? It's like what really? It goes back to that old thing. I'll have your people call my people, and if you don't have any people, we'll give you some people.
Totally. And when you think of, okay, if you've got an AI agent for the consumer talking to a dealer AI agent, obviously the dealer AI agent has to be up to snuff on dealer sales,
Mhm.
but the consumer AI agent is going to be able to say things and find things that a human being isn't going to be able to do.
Right. And think about this. If it's out there pulling that our underlying data for payments and it's asking the consumer AI is it has that data element, right? The schema data format that we have, canonical data, that it's pulling answers to specific thens. And that consumer agentic AI is asking the dealer payment questions, and that dealer agentic AI can't answer because there is no data for it to pull from because it's pulling from the dealer's data, not outside data, right? The dealer agentic AI is pulling from within. And if it doesn't have that data, what's it going to say? It's not going to have an answer.
Right.
So, right,
That's which is not good.
it's not good. If you
That's
don't have
not
an
good.
answer, guess what? Yeah, it's not going to end well.
And I do want it for to be equal and fair. AI can hallucinate. So you want to double check the deal
Right. Mhm.
before you sign, whether you're the consumer or the dealer.
Yep.
But for the most part, although I guess if they didn't have any, yeah, if the dealer doesn't have any data because they're not working with Axis, maybe hallucination is the best you can hope for.
So that's probably what's going to happen. And yeah, I don't know. It's changes every day. So I just know that if the data's not there, it's going to either make up something, which is the hallucination, or it's just not going to be able to answer it. And these companies that are creating agentic AIs need that underlying data. So for every dealer, we create that underlying data of affordability answers, right? So it's each dealer we can create that specific affordability answer level language or data level. So it's there, we have it. It's just whether a dealer wants to use it or if they think they're getting it from their current AI agent, which probably not. I mean, if you look at most dealer websites today, you go there and the SRP or VDP is get your payment. That's the CTA. Get your payment. And an AI agent is not, or even regular AI discoverability is not going to click on get your payment. It doesn't do that. So if you go to your website, look at your inventory. If it says get your payment or or create whatever, if the payment's not there, that's the first issue. You're never going to show up. But if you do have payment quoting on your SRP and VDPs, but it's not usable to AI, that's not going to show up either. So the underlying payment data, we have both, right? We put the payments on your inventory so the consumer can see it as they're looking at your SRP and VDPs. There's the payment. I want to get qualified for that payment. Okay. Um, but if that payment can't be read, we still have the underlying data, which means if we're working with and we do work with dealerships that don't want to show payments on their inventory, that's okay. We can still have this underlying data that will provide the answers out there to shoppers asking those, affordability questions. And then that goes to uh, a specific VDP with the get pre-qualified. So we have it covered both ways. Just depends on what the dealer wants to do, what the OEM um, requires, because our data layer sits underneath the OEM. Um, it's not part necessarily of the actual website, visual website. So OEM has no control over our access payment layer because nobody sees it. You're not going to see it as a consumer. Um, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
A little bit more secret sauce.
A
Another
little
very
bit.
informative session here
Yeah.
on the FlexPath DXP YouTube channel. Terry, thank you so much for this info today. We'll be in touch again very soon.
Appreciate it, Jay.
Thank you.